Morning, guys. Mark Ferrasci, Protect Dog Training with Benoît. Now, I've been having a lot of these videos, little short videos, I've been sending to the owner, and the owner's into computers and stuff, so he's a computer programmer. So I asked him to help me out and post some of these up for me because I don't have the time. I've been doing them for him and posting them to him. You want me to post them up? Sure. So he's helping me out, but a lot of them are in the can. In other words, they're up on YouTube and they haven't been published yet. So I've got to get them published. But Benoît, I wanted to talk this morning a little bit about Benoît. And Benoît is a special case by virtue, and this is not special, it happens all the time, unfortunately. People go out and they want to get a Malinois, they want to get a dog and hear about a dog. So these folks went over to somebody's place to go get this dog, and the dog had been traumatized. You know, they noticed scars on his neck and if you notice, he's got a big old black patch right here. That's probably indicative of a wound that's healed over, and now the fur has come back, and the black tells you right away that he had a wound here, and now it's a black spot, right? So the dog was traumatized, and his owners, are Asian. So that being the case, every culture is different, right? So they think they want a dog, and Americans are all into dogs, but their culture is from another country. So that being the case, their understanding, the way they carry themselves, the way they deal with life is totally different based on their culture, which is fine. I'm not mentioning it for any other reason other than their perspective and how they deal with a dog is going to be different than maybe somebody else. And everybody that gets a dog, it's all about their perspective and what they think a dog is going to be, right? And somebody like me that's been doing this since I've been 12 years old, and my whole life is wrapped around dogs, eat, breathe, sleep dogs, and as much saturation as I've had living in the back of kennels over the years, and I'm being with Caesar for 3 or 4 years, and just a saturation that most trainers don't have. My perspective is based on my experience and what I've done. So, and then what I've learned. I go to seminars all the time. I'm constantly soaking in knowledge. I'm a professional, right? You can't expect people to have the same perspective. They are skewed based on what we put out in media, what they see on TV, the Wick movies. Oh, and everybody goes crazy and goes buys a Malinois. They don't have a clue what they're getting into, and we know that already. So I wanted to talk a little bit about this special case in regards to Benoît. Benoît has had a trauma in his life, and the owners didn't understand this and take the dog home, and the first thing they do is what's natural to us, to humanize the dogs and to put the dog in a perspective of coddling them, right? And people right away jump to this human reaction to coddle, just like it's a baby, right? Oh, my little Snookums, oh, my baby. So I wanted to go back and tell you a story. Years ago, I had a dog. You'll see him every now and then show up, and I'll be talking about him that I got from Caesar Milan, the dog whisperer. He actually brought me 2 dogs, Thunder and Lightning. Thunder was the one that picked me, and we ended up taking Thunder and doing all kinds of things with him, and he was my dog that slept on my bed. And I've always got somebody. Right now, it's Joker that's my house dog, and I've been sleeping with dogs since I've been 8 years old, probably, and before I got my first dog in 12, right? And then my dogs are always with me. My dogs have always been on my bed, sleeping with me, being a part of my life. And to the point of just, dog is always with me. I used to have a little moped at 15. I rode all over town, and I built a box in the back for Princess, my little Australian Shepherd, Queens and Heeler mix. And she was my first dog and my first experience with dogs. So I took her everywhere. She rode in the back of that moped, and I went all over town. It was my way of getting attention. I was a 15-year-old kid. Oh, looky, looky, looky. And I had that dog trained. I called her my circus dog. I trained her to do over 250 words. I was experimenting. How many words can a dog understand? Hand signals, all the things. And I got her to crawl, limp, shake like she was shaking water. I could give her a hand signal, and she'd shake off like she was shaking water off her back. Rolling over both ways, crawls, limp, into trees, just everywhere. I mean, being a kid, and I've always been that way. So I've gone out to parks and gone out to public, and my whole life is revolved around showing off. I don't get into structure. I don't get into wanting to go out and compete and getting a trophy and making myself feel good because I'm getting recognized by my peers. I could give a hoot what people think. What I care about is the dog. And I do care about what people think, obviously, because I want to show off and I want to get attention. That's just me. Yep. So a lot of times, and when in my past, when I was doing my what I call my experimentation phase, I was getting into all that, and now I've gone way past that. But understanding as many dogs as I've worked thousands of dogs over the years, understanding the dog's brain, where's their head at in the work. You'll hear me talking about it all the time. I always tell, I've got a couple kids that I'm mentoring, through touching him every now and then and doing my thing. And I'm always telling him, it's not about heel, sit down, stay. It's not about the behaviors. It's about where the dog's head's at in the behavior. Where is his head at, right? So back to Benno. Benno has been traumatized, and he's a very fearful dog. They didn't understand. When you have this, you got to think of it like a record. Like you're writing to the tape recorder, you're putting grooves in that record, and you're writing to the computer, right? And it is. Our brain is a computer. And when you're doing this, you want to realize that you're writing to the computer from day one. The dog comes home with you at 8 weeks old. He's already experiencing things with mom. Mom cuffs him a little bit, tells him things are happening within that litter, and that puppy is learning from his litter mates and their interactions together. One dog's a bully, over precocious, kicks the heck out of the other dogs. I always find that that's usually the weakest dog in the litter, to be honest with you, the one that's being a bully, and you think it's a tough little dog. It's because the dog has to be defensive to stand up for himself because he lacks confidence. He's insecure, right? So he comes out with more aggression to compensate for that. So when you have a dog and you bring your dog home at 8 weeks of age, and depending on what's happened to him, and this dog, I don't know when they got him exactly, but I picture it to be a little older. When they went to got him, they realized that the dog had been put through trauma. Their natural reaction as a human is to coddle. So back to my story of Caesar. Thunder, and we used to go all over the place with a pack. And the dogs would be in this little Astro van that Caesar had. They'd be all packed in the back, pitties, Rotties, Shepherds, all of them were in the back. Then we'd get out and we'd go up to, let's say, the Sierra Madres above Santa Anita. There's really a neat valley that goes back in there, a really great hiking trail that drops back in there. There's pools of water and all that go through there. So we would go back there. We went back there one time, and we're doing our thing with all the dogs, jumping all over the place, and we found a nice big pool, and these granite rocks everywhere, and I'm throwing the ball into the pool. And Thunder went and he slipped off that rock, came down in as he was lunging for the ball. Instead of hitting the water, he hit a rock on the other side and smashed his whole front teeth out and shifted that palate. And I didn't know about the palate until later. We'll talk about that at another time. But so I was very traumatized. We're way down in this valley. It takes us about an hour or so to get down there, and about an hour and a half to get back up or whatever. It was a long trip. And then we'd do this maybe once a week or every 3 weeks or whatever it was. This was part of our little pattern. So I was pretty traumatized myself as a human. And I went right away into coddling him. And it's okay, it's all right. And Caesar got upset. He was, this was kind of the start of our rift, our relationship, because I was so emotional into this injury, the dog being hurt, that I couldn't stop myself from, having a reaction like, it's all right, come on. And he looked at me and he said, Mark, what are you doing? He was upset at me. And we had this little rift, but I was real upset to the point where I was mad at Caesar that this happened. I was mad at him. And how humans are. But there was a great example. Caesar was right. The coddling is not what you want to do. You want to ignore it. And you want to get the dog through it, pretend like it didn't even happen, and act like it didn't even happen. Don't even dwell on it. The dog is going to deal with it in the dog's way. And your emotional flow and how you deal with it and giving strength to the animal. Come on, let's go. Grab the jowls. Let's go. Come on. How you treat that dog is what matters. And the dog will be a lot less affected by that when you take it to that side, right? So that's what's happened with Benno. Benno went home with traumatized and all that, probably attacked by a pack of dogs, who knows? And they got this dog and they went home and they coddled the dog. You're all right. And they nursed him back to health and they thought everything was fine. And they treated him like a human child, like a baby. And that's very natural for humans to do. Everybody does it. And it's not a good thing because you are the direct influence on this dog's strength or weakness. And everything everybody always talks about it's genetics. Yeah, it is. But once you have that dog come out of the end of the world and out of the womb, that dog is being written to like you're writing to a computer constantly. So everything after that is all about environment. And how you do what you've got to do makes that dog stronger or weaker. Okay, so they didn't do the right thing. The dog was traumatized. When you let the dog stick into that spot, into that one trauma, and he's being coddled, his brain will go to there, and that becomes a groove in the record. And you're writing to that record where that groove is there. And the longer you let this go, the harder it is to get the dog repaired, right? I call it recovering the dog. And that's what we're doing right now with Benoît. We're going to get to a point where I'm going out people, places, things, and I'm going to find out how this dog responds to environment. How does he deal with this? This is going to be something these folks are going to have to deal with all the time. Now, they're coming in for reactivity because the dog's being reactive out of his fear being. I call it the fear being. It's a maglia, whatever the name of it is, where the fear resides in the brain, where this response happens, right? So I call that the fear being. And that fear being is there, and I can sense it and read it in the animal, right? And how he responds to his environment, getting reactive, getting aggressive, whatever it may be, and where does that come from is the first thing I look for in trying to deal with reactivity and aggression and things like we have a problem with. A lot of times, and they're totally right, the general consensus is that the reaction and the fear is what causes reactivity, and all that comes from a fear base. So when I work with a dog like this, I am going to be doing everything I can to build the dog's confidence. People, places, things, and this dog is very aversive to noise. It's startling. That's one of the reasons when I take puppies out when they're young, at 8 weeks, I start taking puppies out for the most part reliably about 12 weeks, but 16 weeks is when they get their last shot. So I'm careful in between that. But in that time period, at 12 weeks, I want to get that dog out as soon as I can to experience the world and work them through it. And you've heard me talk about it before if you've ever watched my videos and understand where I'm coming from. I call it shaking out the dog, okay? Because we have a term in horse training. They have a term in horse. I'm not a horse trainer. My mom was. But where we call it shaking out the horse. And usually we're doing it with young colts and things. They're very skittish, very fearful. There's a big fear being. God gives dogs a high degree of fear as puppies. Why? They can't defend themselves. All they can do is run away, flight. That is a protective instinct, to go hide up underneath the table, you see a dog, it's underneath the bed, okay? So that's where it comes from. And it usually is very heightened in puppies. And so you've got to work the dogs through it properly and slowly but surely, avoiding any time of major trauma that's going to stick in the brain and end up being a groove that's written to that record. You see what I'm saying? So again, the longer that stays, the harder it is to get it to go away, right? This dog has been there and been in that malaise and not been worked through all this for a long time. How well can I recover this dog? You hear me talking about all that's my goal, okay? It's not just heel, sit down, stay. It's not just behaviors. I've got a kid that I'm working with that basically when he started out, he was always thinking about behaviors, and he had food in the dog's face all the time and just working on behaviors all the time. And he thinks this is dog training. So far from the truth, okay? Because you got a lot of factors going on. You've got the humans you've got to educate, and you've got to educate and teach them because they are a direct reflection of this dog. I don't live with you. I don't live at your home. You have to learn and grow with your animal. You have to put the work in. And I'm always telling people that. The more you put in, the more you get out, okay? So it's very important that you understand these basic, no, good. Now, I don't really take too much offense to that because he's so fearful in his demeanor and who he is as a dog that he's just being very instinctive. Crawling on me and wrapping his legs around me and doing that is not a good thing. And if I let him get away with it, we'll have problems. But his inner core, his nature is he's not aggressive and mean. He doesn't have that, right? He's not unbalanced. It's all about balance, guys. Yin and yang. I'm talking about it all the time. Yep. So I just wanted to kind of take this session to kind of talk about that. And I usually do these yak sessions more for the owner than anybody else. And I post my stuff online so everybody can learn and grow from it. But realize that the dog is a direct reflection of you and your environment, okay? So I always tell people in general overall sense of dogs, a dog is a product of two things. His genetics and his breed package, right? This is a Malinois. And his genetics, but also environmental. And when you get them out of the womb and they go into the world, everything is you and how you build, mold, and shape that clay. And the younger they are as far as their age and as they're maturing, that clay is malleable off Good boy. Good. You're all right. You're okay. Good boy. Good. There you go. Good. That clay is malleable. It's moldable when they're young. And when you work them through, that's which I call building a dog, right? The folks that are really heavy into the sport and all that, you see these kids all over the place. They've got bottle pits. The dog's crashing through bottle pits. He's doing all these things that put the dog through minor stressors that desensitize the dog. So back to shaking out the horse or shaking out the dog, one of the first things I do is I go out in public and I start knocking on all kinds of things, making noise and moving, hey up, hey up. And after a while, the dog thinks that noise is coming from me and he starts to desensitize, and it doesn't matter. And when I get done, you could blow off a bomb and the dog will say, yeah, no big deal, right? And that's what you're after. You're after strength in everything you do. So the dog is not fearful and afraid of the world. Yep. Good dog. But you should have a goal. You should have something that you want to do with the animal, that you're, instead of just letting the dog come home and be a dog and sit on your couch and do nothing. And then you go to a dog trainer when he's got problems. The problem is not the dog, it's you, right? Yep. So your education, you learning and growing is the most important thing for you to do. I've learned the most from the things that I've gone through with things. I'll give you another good example. I had a dog, German Shepherd. After I had my Australian Shepherd, my first German Shepherd was right after that. His name was Sergeant. And Sergeant, I took, and I wanted to be a dog trainer, so I took all that experience and knowledge that I got from working Princess, my little Australian Shepherd, and I put it into the Shepherd. But at that point, I wanted to get into bite work, so that's all I cared about. So I went and molded that dog and shaped that dog towards what I wanted to try to do. But environment was always something I was very concerned with. So the criteria for any personal protection dog, as far as I'm concerned, or any dog that you're doing bite work with and that sort of thing, should be a dog that's friendly and fine. You take him any place you want to. The dog is very well under control and stable and balanced. And at the same time, we condition him to do the protection upon a key word or key action of an individual to light up and to go off on somebody and to protect your home and family. There's a lot of work that goes into it. Yep, good boy, good, there you go. So that being the case, I'm just kind of highlighting this, that the dog's whole world, who the dog is, who they become, after they're born and after the genetic stamp is already there, and the sperm has hit the egg, right? And then it comes into the world, is it being written to the record from the very beginning. And your ability to work with the animal and get the dog out there and being worked and being molded and shaped to what you want to achieve. Is it an agility dog? Is it personal protection? Is it a working dog? Or is it just a family dog? It doesn't really matter, but the biggest thing is to try to mold and shape strength so the dog doesn't have fear that causes the aggression that causes dog bites and causes all kinds of other problems. 90% of our work, a lot of times, is dealing with fearful dogs because people don't understand how to build a puppy and they don't put the work in. And I always tell people, the more you put in, the more you get out, right? So it's real important. And I just wanted to stop and accent this. Now, I'm not saying down yet, and I should have a clicker, and I just couldn't find my clicker this morning. So back to Benzo. What we're going to do after this, once I get him in the crate and I can load him up, we're going to take him into town. Another thing you'll notice with me, I'm not worried about how long it takes. You're paying me for my time. Yes, I know I've only got 30 days in an in-kennel, in-board situation. But at the same time, yes, I just evaluate the dog. Where's his head at and what do I've got to achieve? Yes, to be able to balance the dog and get what I need to out of him in that regards. So it's important. So I'll go ahead and cut this short. I've got to get him working on going into the crate. So let's do that next. I got just enough hot dogs to throw into the crate for one time. We're going to end on this session at 6:30 in the morning. So I'm going to come back and forth, trying to beat the heat. Yep, good boy, good. There you go. There's that feed brand. Go get it. Go get it. Get it, get it, get it, get it. Go get it. Yesterday he was going in fine. Look at him. Good boy, good. There you go, good. And so this overriding fear wouldn't be good for me to try to force him in there because he's going to go right to the fear side, right? We've got a very highly heightened fear being. That Maglia, his reaction of fear is everything. So this is the challenge we've got to work with him, right? And we're only going to know how well he does and recovers, what I call recovering the dog, with time, with my training period. And then I've got to give him back to the owners, and I got to get them to get off the couch and realize that they've got to keep putting the work in and learning and growing, and the more they put in that respect, the better they're going to be able to do with this dog, because this is going to be a maintenance thing for the life of the dog. I hate to say it, but it's a fact. It's not going to be just poof, it's fixed. Now I dream a genie and blink my eyes and it's another totally different dog. It doesn't work that way, right? The record has already been written to. We're trying to counter condition that and overcome this fear being, but the fear being is going to be overriding with everything he does in the world, right? So how severe it is, we're not going to know until he starts reacting. And not like I tell the customers, you just don't know. You could end up doing all this and the dog turns into a monster. In other words, a good quality, high drive dog that ends up being a well-balanced dog. He may bounce back tremendously. Why? Intelligence. They're a very intelligent breed, right? So just keep it all in mind. I'll talk to you guys later. I've got a lot of things I'm doing. You don't see me posting as much online because I'm real busy with another project I'm working on. Good boy, good. Who knows what's going to happen in the next year or so, huh? Yeah, good boy, good, yeah, good boy, good boy, good. All right, good boy. All right, Mark Ferrasci, Protect Dog Training with Benno, and you'll see more of him in the next few weeks as we go through this. Come on, you, come on, there you go. You're a smart boy. I like how intelligent he is. He shows a lot of intelligence, and he's got a good side of his personality. I like that, huh? Yeah. All right, talk to you guys later. Mark Ferrasci, Protect Dog Training, signing off.